Welcome back to the Sean Trey Show. I have a really awesome guest with me today. Now, would you like to introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what you do?
All right, I'm Tekh Togo. I'm a artist from Michigan, from Grand Rapids. So I'm like I guess you would say like a different ranges of artists, from music, traditional art, fashion,
That's
film,
awesome.
You name it. Just trying to get my hands in there.
That's awesome. You know, that's a theme that comes back often. I'm beginning to recognize the problem of the question I ask: who are you and what do you do? Because there are different things. Who a person is and what they do are separate things. But one of the things that I'm starting to look at is like a lot of creatives are multifaceted. They're like got their fingers in different things. You know, it's like I do music, I do film, I'm studying screenwriting. I got my own podcast. I edit. I produce, videos and music. And I like to do lots of things. And people are like, well, why don't you pick one? And I want to look at people and go,
it's hard.
But
man.
why?
It's hard.
Why?
Yeah.
I love it. I love them all.
Right. It's like not enough hours in a day.
Too true.
It feels like we need like at least 4 more hours.
Right? And so I'm clicking up on midnight, and it's like I always see that. Like I have a cheap smartwatch, right? But one of the things that's interesting is like it gets to midnight, right? And it tracks my steps for the day. And I always find it really surreal that midnight hits and I go back to 0. And I'm just like, I never hit my 10,000 steps. I try, but I never get there. And I'm just like, I need more time. So you're so spot on, man. Now, how did you get into the creative arts? When did you start really? What was the beginning of your creativity?
Oh man, when y'all like really like take the time and think
take it back, man.
I mean, every time I do that and reflect, you realize like most creatives realize they were doing it like at a really young age. Like when you really sit back and analyze it, it's like some people will say, "Oh, well, I went to college and blah blah blah, and I met so and so and so and so." But when you like really think back, like even when you were like a little kid, you were like doing a lot of those things that you're kind of like striving like to do like as a adult creatively. You might not remember like when you were 5 years old and you were doing some of the things that you're like doing today. Right. I think a lot of creatives like you're kind of like born with that, so you really been doing it like forever. So I will say that because even the music, like, I was doing that as a little kid, and people would like bring me like instruments and stuff when I was a little kid, and I was like into it. I was always the kid like that had the camera around, like teenage years. I wasn't thinking about I want to be the next like Spielberg or Scorsese then. It was just I just naturally was like running around with the camera.
That's awesome.
So it's like you've been like I've been doing it forever, like really at the end of the day.
Now, I want to talk about let's talk about some of what type of music are you creating? What's your passion for music? What does it look like?
So really I like grew up in hip hop. And so
what vein of hip hop? Who are some of your inspirations? I mean, are you West Coast, East Coast? I mean, are we talking Wyclef and the Fugees? Are we talking Mos Def? Here's the Tupac and Snoop.
So we're in the Midwest. I'm Grand Rapids, Michigan. So it's Midwest. So we're like in the middle, but it's kind of it's interesting. Because part of the town, like from where I'm from, like some people gravitated towards the West Coast sound, and then some of us gravitated towards the East Coast sound, and from like my neighborhood, we went heavily like East Coast, but like still had respect for the West. So I'm like Wu-Tang, Nas, Mobb Deep, Biggie, like I'm from like we were like heavily into that.
That's awesome.
You know? So yeah.
I grew up on the West Coast, but I always had a mad respect for East Coast rap because it just West Coast felt like you were about to go to like hang out at the park and relax, and you're gonna blast it.
It's just chill. Yeah.
Whereas East Coast, I always felt like when I wanted to get my hustle on, when I wanted to be working on something, you know what I mean? I put on some East Coast rap because I felt that it felt motivational to me.
But you got, see, over here too, like, we get like, I think is, if we were in a warmer climate over here, maybe we would like understand like the West Coast thing a little bit more. But we get the snow, so we put our big boots on, the Timberland, like, so we saw that like in the New York rap. It was like, oh yeah, like, you know, that was like an influence on us, I think.
That's true.
I think that's like part of that that thing from the East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah. Well, there was different types of storytelling too. One of the things that like I always like to think about is like the way East Coast and West Coast hip hop approached the way they told stories was fundamentally different, you know. So there was this one thing that someone talked to me about the other day is like some of the greatest poets of our era are the rappers. Some of the, you know, we're talking like there are some amazing like lyricists, you know, people that are just stringing together words in absolutely unfathomable ways, you know, where their books of poetry, you know, the historical books of poetry are going to be having to list rap lyrics in the future. You know what I mean? Versus.
Yeah, true. I mean, they already do.
It's amazing.
You know? Yeah. But I'll say this, it's still like when I go to LA or whatever, or Cali, whatever, like, I get it. And it could almost like, I have a friend that was living over there, and I went to visit him, and we did a project over there, and like it changed like a little bit of how I like performed and how I recorded and how I wrote. Just from being in that environment, like you feel that it's like, oh, I get like the West Coast sound now. Like it's definitely an environmental thing. Same thing when you go down south to like Atlanta. It's like we were like heavily against like the South sound when it was first coming around. Like, but then you like go down there and get in the environment. It's like, oh, like I get it. I like get this sound. I get the vibe and what everybody's on. It's definitely like a movement of where everybody's at, you know. And that's why it's cool to like tap into other people. That's why people like can relate to. You can like tap into other people's like regional sounds and their fields, and like you'll get something from it though. Like again, like you said earlier, like we're all the same. But before we went off air, like we want the same things. We relate to some of the same things. But it's still like a different feel, so it's interesting to tap into other people's, like, you know.
I had this really cool podcast the other day, and the gentleman was a composer, but he was approaching music from a so like he did this one piece that was like called The Sounds of like Kyoto, The Sounds of Vladivostok, and so essentially he mixed in like real ambient sounds from the city into this musical piece. Like, so he created this piece of it was awesome. And like, so yeah, the sounds when he's out there, and I found him because I was looking at the Avid was like posting about it people, and he was out there with a boom mic and he's recording the sound of bamboo hitting against each other, like these bamboo. Yeah. And then he was mixing that in with you know, a symphony. And I was just meanwhile, I'm like recording at my home studio, feeling pretty good about myself, and this guy's out there doing this. And I was just like, I gotta step my game way up. Totally. But it's just about this powerful approach to music, that there is this unique sound for each place, and that it seeps. And he was talking about how that the sound of our natural environment seeps into the music. And so like it does. And so that's just you can see that with different sound types, but especially hip hop, because it pops up in different places. Now, what about you? Also work in cinematography, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So tell me about how did you get into making films?
I mean, it was something I feel like again, like I said, I was kind of the guy with
The kid with the camera.
camera. And then a lot of my stuff that I was doing, being a musician, you know how it is. Sometimes you
making music videos and such, you know.
start making music videos, but then a lot of the stuff that I do, like even as far as production wise, I was always the guy like, I'm not gonna chase around this guy and try to get production from him. I'm not chasing this dude around for beats, so I'll get my own keyboard or whatever.
Yeah.
So the same thing applied to me starting to shoot videos. Like I'm gonna shoot a music video, but then I don't want to like chase around the videographers, and you know, and I like messing around with it myself. So I'm gonna like shoot my own video. And I think even before I started shooting my own music video, I was kind of messing around with like a cyber shot type camera, but it was like a Canon.
Nice.
And I was just kind of getting my chops like together before I got a DSLR. Like this is like the DSLR movement is like blowing up. Everybody's getting DSLRs. Yep. And so a friend of mine invited me to
Canon 5D2 was a solid, you know,
man,
it did video,
it's
man.
Like changed the game, right? So it was like, right. So I was like, yo, I'm eventually like get into that, and then I'm gonna start shooting my music video. And a friend of mine contacted me to go like cover some. He was doing a project with a producer named The Alchemist out in LA. And so I tagged along, and that's when I was like, yo, let me just grab like I was thinking about the Mark II, but it was like at the time like the funds weren't there, so I was like, let me get a Canon T2i.
Hey man, it works great.
And go out. Yeah, it's like the same thing, really, at the end of the day.
Right,
but
exactly.
It's just not full frame.
Yeah.
But so I was like, he wanted me to come out and like capture like some footage behind the scenes and all that, and I did that. And that kind of like started me to like, he saw like the work, and then I eventually started shooting my own video, and he saw some of that work, and he wanted to shoot a video from that project while we were out there, and he kind of like let me just do my thing, and he liked it. A lot of people liked it. It like got a lot of good feedback and some attention, and that kind of like got me going in that space of music videos, and then that kind of like led into started to do like more like getting into film, short films and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so that's kind of like where it started from.
There's always this like, we have like these journeys in life that are big and winding, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But there's always this moment where stuff kicks off, and sometimes you don't know what's kicking off. And like, I wish I could go back. I still like, because for my filmmaking side, I know where it started. It started in gymnastics. Really? Yep. I didn't make the gymnastics team in my high school, and that was like, my high school was weird. Like the gymnastics team was the thing. Everyone was on there.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know, man, but it was like that was the thing. That was the thing.
I've never heard of that before.
And they had acro teams, people standing on each other's shoulders, tossing people in the air, doing flips. It was sweet. It was really cool stuff that they did, man.
That's cool.
And one of the things is I was a small guy. I was skinny, scrawny, you know. And later on, I bulked up a bit, started lifting weights, again. But I'm thin, man. And so I'm not like it's just guy that's doing like the Iron Cross gymnastics thing. That's not my thing. But the coach liked me. And he's like, you know what? Why don't you come along on the road? You can travel with us. You can have some fun. Just shoot our video. Here, we've got a camcorder. Shoot the video. Kind of follow the action. That was my first. That was my first camera job, and that kicked everything off. You know what I mean? And I never knew that was my first gig, and I never knew the importance of it, but it was. And after that, I just loved having a camera around.
I was gonna say, did it like just spark something right there? It's like,
man.
I like this is like, yeah.
I got to university and my dad got me an old, like, it was still film. I'm 42, so I went to university. I started in 97. I went to university, and I took some photography classes, film classes, and my dad got me an old Canon Rebel, and I was shooting The old Andre Agassi, had all of those advertisements of the Cannon Rebel. Beautiful flowing mullet, and so
that's iconic.
Yeah, those iconic shots, man. That's iconic. Mullet like just dancing behind the man. But yeah, it was like, and that was kind of my roots, and it was like it was definitely something that stuck with me, and I just kind of. But I mean, again, like. I said I moved back to Asia and I got rid of all my gear because when I moved out here, I just you move light, and I picked up a new camera when I came back to Asia and I was shooting a bunch of stuff on the EOS M. It was just great little camera, man. And I think that like gear, albeit important, is overrated. It doesn't matter what you're shooting.
Definitely.
If you're creating content, like. I was sitting there before I made this podcast, and I was like, man, I was researching. I was like, man, I should get, I got to find a cable so I can run my mirrorless cameras and be running on that, and then hooking it into here. And all of a sudden, I just was like, or I could buy a $40 webcam, and I got the webcam, and it works.
And people almost prefer that now.
Because if I had the times that I've had people that are shooting on like shallow depth of field stuff and they move out of focus and the camera's chasing focus the whole time because you got autofocus on, man, this is so much easier. Though I do color correct.
Yeah.
I do color correct. I was like, oh, this is a super blue shift. I warm it up, bring the skin tones up. But the gear is less important as much as the story and the narrative.
The story always comes first.
And so what are some of the themes that you like to kind of embrace in your music or in your filmmaking?
It's just usually like just any like. So it kind of depends. I'm always like for music. Usually something sparks me to come up with an idea and I start forming a concept. So it's not like, I'm not like, oh, I'm just super like reality rap and everything I'm saying is going to be completely like my story and blah, blah, blah. Like that's kind of like not me because again, I still feel like I'm a creative, like, and I'm an artist. So I'm used to like just coming up with imagining characters and drawing them. Like that's just like my nature. So I'm more like a storytelling, like mixing in like some jewels in here and sometimes and then I sprinkle in some of my own experiences. So I'm usually like usually creating like a world for you to like dive into when you listen to the project.
I like that, man.
Yeah, and it was like recently like a guy who like does like some coverage for me every once in a while. Like I had a conversation with him and he was like, yo, like your music like takes me like on like a journey like I could tap in. It was like, wow, like that's kind of like what I'm setting out to do. It's good to like hear somebody say that's what it like does, It's like, wow, that's like sweet because that's kind of like what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? Usually just people like hit you up like, oh, this is dope, this is sweet, I love this, blah, blah, blah. But they don't like tell you like, when somebody tells you like you're doing like what you're like damn, that's what I'm trying to do, bro. Like I'm glad you said that. Like that makes me like feel like really good about like what I'm doing, and that like boosts me up, as an artist. Like keep doing what I'm doing. It's like sweet. I'm like reaching and doing my goal. You know what I mean?
Sometimes
project and making music.
Right, and sometimes it's tough to keep that momentum going. Sometimes it's tough to keep that internal momentum going, and my wife is a famous singer here in Vietnam. And she gets frustrated, like, because she'll put her heart and soul into something and then she'll release it. And like, sometimes people love it. Sometimes, and it's not just people will like it, but like, it's hard to know what's going to like get more views, what's going to stick and like, what's going to kind of track. You never know. And it's hard. It's sometimes it's not even what people like, it's what the internet promotes. You know what I mean? Because people start sharing other stuff. It's like these algorithms are fickle things, and our whole lives are kind of dictated by them now on social media and such. But it's tricky. Unfortunately, 100%. You know what I mean? Yep. And so, but I mean, and what I told her, she was sitting there and she was like feeling down, and I said, "Pick yourself up. We dust ourselves off and you make stuff." And it's not about
make another one.
Make another one. Go right back at it. Go right back at it. And you can't put your heart and soul into them, but then you let it go, and you gotta
let it go. Yeah. Yeah, that's that's like a thing like a lot of artists have. We we fall in love with like the process and the project, and like a lot of my friends, that's like kind of like the thing I've been saying lately. Just let it go.
Yeah,
like just let the stuff go. Like we're holding on to like 100 songs. You know what I mean? Like should this go? Should this go? Like just let it go. I've struggled with that myself.
My friend is a producer and awesome guy, and he came on the podcast before, Philip Peterson, and he had this great line, and I love this, and I share it with everyone now. Don't delete, dilute. So like just get stuff out. And maybe you're sitting there going, should I get rid of this? Is it good enough? Who cares? Put it out.
No, just let it go. Yeah.
Let it go. And like if it sucked, then you get more content out, and you're gonna have good stuff that comes out too. But it's like, be prolific, put out this mountain of work, and then later on people can pick and choose what they love,
what they want. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And like you said, the algorithms are weird. Like you have a song you're working on, you put a whole campaign together, how you're going to release it. It does like whatever. And sometimes I'm just like rushing, like, I haven't put out anything. I need to put out something. Just throw it out there and it like takes off. It's so crazy.
That's what I told my wife. It's like, there's no way of knowing. Like, there's no way of knowing. And I mean, and I've talked to so many creators now that are like putting out stuff regularly. And I ask, do you know what's the secret sauce? What is it? And every single person is like, no idea.
You don't know.
No idea. And they're like, we try to make, but there is some things, and they don't know what makes it good, but they do have a formula for overall success. Number one, keep getting regular content out.
Yeah.
And try to make it as good as you can. And then that's about it.
That's it.
And then, and then maybe people don't like something now, but it's out there. People could circle back on it. It could be, they can kind of come back to it at some point in time. So it makes you feel crazy though. Like you're like, man, what am I doing wrong? But nothing. You just got to keep it up.
Just got to keep. Yeah, that's it.
Now, what are some of your artistic inspirations, whether it be, albeit film or music? Who do you go to find inspiration? Let's pick the different areas. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's usually not what? I want to hear that.
It's typically not like what I don't specifically say I'm gonna watch
Scorsese or something.
I'm not gonna watch like a certain director or anything. It's usually like, let me just relax and like chill out and watch something.
You pop on Netflix. What's a movie that you can go to again and again and again?
See, I don't have anything that like.
You don't have any specific. All right.
That inspires me. I just have like films that I like to watch.
Well, tell me what.
It's usually so I like Coen Brothers.
Nice.
I like almost anything.
Which one?
I like No Country for Old Men is like one of my favorites.
Oh man,
that's one of my favorites.
It's such a great killer. Oh, such a good. I think probably one. I think Josh Brolin's best work too.
Yeah,
hands down.
Definitely, me too.
So good.
Me too. Yeah, it's really good. Good. But I don't like go to that to like. I need something to be inspired by. It's usually it's just random things. It's chilling and watching whatever. It could be a documentary. It could be like whatever. And like something just catches you. It's like, whoa. It's usually like some new creative like piece of something that sparks me. Like, whoa, I didn't know about that. Or wow, that's sweet. Like maybe I could do something like that. Or that just like gets my juices going, and then it makes me tap into whatever I'm doing. And then it just takes me off. I'm gone. Like I have a new project ready. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's kind of how it works for me. And that's the same with like film, music, whatever, fashion, whatever.
Now tell me a little. I haven't asked much about your fashion. Tell me about some of your fashion that you work with. How do you approach your fashion?
So this is something we've just like started on. So my girlfriend, she has her own line that she works with, and so I just kind of been like the fashion guy. Like I just like I like clothing. I like.
Yeah. I mean,
I just
I've
like
seen
the
your
whole.
Instagram. You
I
got,
the whole thing. Oh, thanks, man.
man, you got fashion sense, man. My wife says I have
Thanks.
none, but she luckily takes care of me on that end. So thank God. I grew
And so
up in
I'm just like
California,
I've always
man.
been into it.
I've always been a
Yeah,
t-shirt and jeans kind of guy, you know.
I noticed that too. It's like the chucks and like just khakis and
Yep.
some tees. And,
Yep.
yeah, they're not like I don't know. I guess I guess it depends where you're at over there. Like some people
Yeah.
are heavily into fashion over there, big time.
That's true.
But,
That's true.
mhm,
But you know what?
mhm.
Colder climates, I think there's something to be said for colder climates in fashion because you can always accessorize more. You know, there's
Yeah,
just
you layer up. You know,
you layer
can
up.
layer
You know,
up.
versus
Yeah.
I live in the tropics now, man. People are wearing shorts and like sandals and like no shirt, and so you can't get too fashionable with that.
Yeah,
You know?
it's not too much you could do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But
that's something to be said for cold climates and good fashion, man.
that's interesting.
Right?
That's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how that works.
Yeah. So tell me more. So you've always been really into fashion, and how
Yeah,
do you
so
go ahead?
so around like right before the pandemic, I would say that I was kind of thinking about started doing my own like line
That's awesome.
for my like my music stuff. I just didn't want to do like merch though. I
Yeah.
kind of just wanted to have like my own like brand and not just like here's some t-shirts from the project that have the the project cover on the tee or whatever. It was like maybe I'll start like kind of like a line that goes along with the Tekh Togo like brand as far as like in the music sense. So I was gonna like work with her to like start doing some stuff, and it was kind of like gonna be on like some higher end type stuff, and not just like a t-shirt and all that. And then she kind of just came with an idea because she does music as well, and she kind of wanted to get back into it like heavily. So she kind of came with the idea to like merge together and do a brand of itself, where we like design and come up with a idea and mix our music and mix the film because she's pretty much a creative as well, so she like she shoots like most of the pictures you see of me, like she shot them,
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're kind of like in the same boat. So it's like we just merged together. It's like why haven't we done this like a long time ago? Like but so that's kind of where it like came in, and now I'm like kind of part of like just doing this brand. Like this is like my official, I would say, brand, and I'm like helping out with the design, so
That's really awesome.
we just launched, but that's like it's gonna be like a cool brand. It's some exciting stuff. I'm like excited about it.
That's awesome, man. And like the part that I really like is, and you see this nowadays, and this is something I really appreciate, right, is that I want to be careful how I go at this, but I want to also point at it. There was this one service, right, that I saw a lot of these older actors and athletes now that for like $20 up to $100 will go on and send you a message. And some of their marketing, it was really almost sad to watch because it was really like, like there's no work for these people. They didn't kind of figure things out when they were in their prime, if that makes sense. And then like their careers progressed, and now they're just like, I'll send you a Zoom call, like a Zoom message or like a video message for $20. And granted, maybe that's a good separate side stream, and then I don't judge it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you then look at other people like Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson, Kevin Hart, who are understanding, like diversifying their portfolio and kind of how they're approaching their business. Dwayne Johnson, like, dude, the guy got into energy drinks and tequila and he's got his own production company. One of the things I respect about that is like people are becoming, I think more and more people are using their platform and becoming entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? And like you can why limit yourself to making money in one way, shape, or form when you can do all these things? And especially like, and I think that, you know, I love doing this. You know, I love doing music. I love doing film, but maybe this podcast is the thing that takes off for me. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Right.
You don't know
till you give it a go. Yeah.
Exactly. And so if you give it a shot, maybe you find something you're really good at, you know, and it just, it takes off. So it's like, you don't know unless you try. And so, and I'm not hating on those people that are doing those video messages. Maybe that's their way of getting ahead. But at the same time, you just got to find your thing, the thing that works for you, you know?
Right. And it's like, you don't have as much like influence when you're at your peak, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, my friend of mine always like, he harps on a lot of music artists for not like jumping more into like business. Yeah. And I try to tell them though, like, man, that's the thing about being an artist as well. Though. Sometimes
it's
like
tricky, man. They
don't have like a business mind. Sometimes you can't like expect like, especially some of like the rappers that were like heavily like into I don't know, a certain lifestyle or whatever. Like that's kind of like what they knew, and they happen to start like rapping maybe. So I don't necessarily expect them and you know, other artists as well to just branch out and do all these other things and have that business savvy and all that. Like I really can't. You can't expect that from them.
Can't expect it, but I think it should be like, it should be in perfect world. You know, I think that like school should be teaching people financial education. You
absolutely,
know, like,
absolutely.
Teaching people about like I remember my family. We had an insurance settlement. It was the only time in my life that I got a chunk of money. I got a good chunk of money. It was gone. You know? and I didn't party through it or stuff, but I used it to pay for living expenses. I got a car. Then the only two things that were like major splurges is I got myself a guitar and a surfboard, but the rest of it just went into life and into. But if I had to look back, man, the amount of money I got, I could have invested that and been doing better, you know, and not in like, you can't expect everyone to know. We're not taught that. But I mean, it's really cool to hear about you guys starting these other side businesses, because you don't know what's going to be the thing that might take off, man. I hope for sure. I hope in like, you know, 10 years, we look back on this and are like, hey, yeah, that was right when you were kicking off the future Louis Vuitton or whatever it might be, you know.
Man, fingers crossed on that.
Right? But you never know. That's one of the things too, right? I remember like reading this story, and I love this. I was a history major, right? And one of the things is we look back at people like, you know, Coco Chanel as like this giant, you know, we look back at, you know, at these different brands and these people that founded them as like these giants, and these brands were always huge. Man, they started out as nothing at some point in time. There was a point in time where it was just a person and a dream. And I think that we forget the power of a person and a dream. Apple computers started in the garage. You know, Facebook was Mark Zuckerberg, whether you like it or not, in his dorm room, creating an app to rate people. You know, like it was like Facebook originally was like that website Hot or Not. You know, and it was. It was just that was how it started. But it started off with a kid with an idea. And, you know, and I think that's where all of these things, we look at this thing that's just now this massive thing, brands that are huge, but at one point in time, they started somewhere, and it was a person with a vision. And I think that's powerful, man. Yeah.
That's definitely like what it is. And you gotta believe in it. I think a lot of people want instant gratification, you know, so it's not something you have to like, it has to be like dear to you, and you want to be like passionate about it to the point where, so when those obstacles come, like it can't like deter you and like, okay, I'm done with that. That means like you didn't really want to do it, you know. It's like everybody wants instant gratification now. Like it's crazy to me.
No, it's for sure. And that's what I was talking about with my wife. I was talking about this, like this podcast. And she's like, you are putting in so much work on this right now. And I said, and if it pays off, then I will be able to wear that like a badge of honor. That I built this. Sure. I built this. How did I build it? With my blood, sweat, and tears. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And and there's something to remember about that. And there's something to be proud of with that. And I think that that's the thing. Like, certainly, God knows I'd like things to be easy. And I'd love... Lord, if you're hearing tonight, please allow the person that can help me to kind of be watching one of these episodes and help you as well. You know what I mean? Because we all need that. We need those, little synchronicities. We need that help. But at the same time, there was this great quote that I read. Pray like it depends upon God. Work and hustle like it depends on you.
Right.
And so sometimes you kind of put that out there and have your hope, but you got to work.
You got to be in motion. You got to be in motion. Yeah. I think that's the path. I mean, you start running into certain people.
Yes.
Just moving around. Everybody say you got a network and all that, but I mean, yeah, of course you do, but yeah, just making those steps and moving around. If you did you watch the Rick James
I haven't yet.
Was that on Netflix? I mean, man, if you watch like how he was just moving around like so much, and you could just tell like that was his path. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if eventually like it clicked, it popped, and like boom, he took off after that. But you got to think like, man, if he would have stopped, a lot of people would have stopped. Like, that second time where something happened and blah blah blah, and like they would have been done. I mean, he just kept going. It was like he was at it until he made it.
You ever do martial arts before?
No, I used to like pretend like I knew what I was doing. But
that's pretty awesome.
And people like, oh, you know karate. Like,
that's actually awesome. I trained Muay Thai for a while. I'm not good at Muay Thai, but I like it. I trained at it. I'm not good, but I trained at it. One of the things when you get hit, it sucks. And like there are days where like you're sparring and you get hit in the face or like a body shot and you're like, I'm done. Like, I don't need this. I don't need to be doing this. But part of you is like, nah, man, I'm not gonna quit. Like, because if you quit, you never know. You never know how good you could be, how fun it could be.
Yeah.
So you keep going. You got to keep going. And like you push through that. Like, it could be something as simple as like, you're just working out and you feel tired, but you push through that tiredness and suddenly on the other side of that, you feel great, Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta fall in love with the journey. Like, that's what a lot of people say. Like, you gotta, yeah. And that's very true, I think. It's true.
Fall in love with the journey. Because we always think about arriving, but in life, you're never really arriving anywhere. It's always the journey. Whether you're at the top or the bottom, you're still journey. And so it's awesome like that. Now, if you could go back in time and give some advice to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself? Right? No time changes. We're not talking about changing things, but just what advice would you give yourself?
Man, even to my not so like younger self, be like super like consistent.
I like that.
Like stay really persistent. Again, I'll go back to that Rick James thing. It's like I've been that person. It's like something to start taking off a little bit, and then there's like a little bit of a lull. Yeah, and it's like you gotta like. You might be missing it, It's like, man, you might have missed those next couple of steps. Might have been like something bigger. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you don't realize, man, you could be like spiraling back down to square 2. You're not directly on the bottom again, but man, you were like, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps, 7 steps, 8 steps, 9 steps, 10 steps, 11 steps, 12 steps, 13 steps, 14 steps, 15 steps, 16 steps, 17 steps, 18 steps, 19 steps, 20 steps, 21 steps, 22 steps, 23 steps, 24 steps, 25 steps, 26 steps, 27 steps, 28 steps, 29 steps, 30 steps, 31 steps, 32 steps, 33 steps, 34 steps, 35 steps, 36 steps, 37 steps, 38 steps, 39 steps, 40 steps, 41 steps, 42 steps, 43 steps, 44 steps, 45 steps, 46 steps, 47 steps, 48 steps, 49 steps, 50 steps, 51 steps, 52 steps, 53 steps, 54 steps, 55 steps, 56 steps, 57 steps, 58 steps, 59 steps, 60 steps, about to take off on SpaceX if you would have just kept going.
Right.
So, and you kind of chilled out, and now you're back like on a 747 or whatever. So I mean, it's not like I said, sometimes it's not necessarily you go all the way back down to the bottom, but staying, I think, just consistent, I think takes you places, and I think that's now even like how things are now. Everything's about just being like content wise and being consistent with the content and all that social media stuff like that. I think that's key like now, and I think that was even before that time. I think that's like a thing, it's like stay like grinding, you know what I mean?
Stay grinding.
Don't let off the gas. Don't
That's
let
gonna
off
be the
the
title
gas
for
like
this
when you're
episode,
moving.
man. That will be the title for this. I love that. And some people don't like it. For me, I love it, man. But I'm also the type of person where I love a fight. You know what I mean? I like, even if it's like, and I'm not talking going out and fighting someone on the street, but I'm talking like, I like the adversity. I love
the challenge.
The challenging myself. I love testing myself. You know? Because it's like, if it's easy, hell man, that sucks. No one wants it easy. I want it.
It's almost not as interesting, right?
Right. Well, think about it this way, right? Because from the film side, right? I studied acting and such. Like, and when you do screenwriting, right? Let's think about John Wick. One of my favorite. I love John Wick. It's like, if John, like, in that movie, if the guy hurts his dog, kills the dog, and then he walks up and he goes, boom. It's a really boring movie, he has to, every single person that punches him, every hit he takes, everything, it's like, because it's not about the dog. It's about it's about his love for his wife, and this dog was a symbol of that. It was a pure symbol, and like it was like good versus evil, and John's like John is the embodiment of vengeance, of righteous vengeance at that point in time, and wreaking havoc on this world of evil, because something pure was destroyed, and but he has to earn it. Or maybe there's an apartment building next to me, and it's about 40 stories tall, right? Well, let's imagine my wife and daughter are at the top of the building, and the movie is about me going to get them. Well, I walk over, press the elevator, go to the top. Hey guys, let's go. That's a really horrible movie, right? But what if the power's out? Okay, suddenly we got some obstacles. My character has to walk to the top. But that still, takes me 30 minutes. I get them and I come out. All right, power's out, and we got zombies. Now you got a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you got a movie.
That's kind of like the structure. Yeah, that's a structure for that's a structure for writing stories. Like you have to have some things have to happen at key points. To keep things going on. You know what I mean? Or else it's like it's not a good script.
And the more obstacles that you throw in there for your character, the more that you create something that people are like, damn, now
they can grab onto and really,
yeah, because they want us to
get involved with the character. Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, and as simple as that story sounded, that was the movie The Raid. Like the guy needs to go rescue his brother, and he's got to fight his way to the top of this damn apartment building because there's kung fu people up and down, and there's martial artists up and down the building. Solid plot line. Versus The Raid 2 didn't keep it as well because they added all this other stuff in there. But again, we like to face adversity. It makes us stronger. It makes us more I don't know, just better people, I think.
I think so too.
Now,
I agree.
If you could if you had a Aladdin's lamp, or a lamp, genie pops up, what would you wish for? Right?
Like just anything?
Let's say something related to your career, and then something personal. Or it could be the world,
I would say, career-wise, just what we're working on to really take off, and that'd be like the lead, the flagship of what we're doing. And so other things like just fall up under that, for that just to like take off and be like a complete like thing.
I like that.
Like a big it kind of almost be like a LVMH or something like that, you know. But other things branch off of that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, man, I think like on a worldly thing, this is like this perfect world thing. I think people like, I don't know, I feel like we're losing like the understanding of like other people,
Right.
and other people's like situation. Where I think like a lot of we're becoming more like me, self-centered, me, and maybe it's just I don't know, maybe it's I'm in the U.S., so maybe it's a U.S. thing that I'm just seeing. I don't know.
It's the whole world, man.
But it just feels like everybody's kind of like about the individual.
Well, you want the weirdest experience. I was like, my wife asked me to send something for her, and so I had to log into her Facebook while she was at a show, and I had to go and find something to send it, and then all of a sudden her feed was popping up, and it was really weird to see someone else's Facebook feed, because it's so oriented towards what they feed you. You know what I mean? And we're all now being fed content. Like, you know, force fed, like, you should look at this, you know, and it's like, versus, man, I remember days before social media where it was just like, you could slow down. If you wanted to talk to someone, you call them. And who did you call that day? Well, whoever popped into your mind, or whoever you ran into. You know what I mean? And it was much more natural. Granted, I love social media. It allows me to also find people, and it allows me to build out this platform. So I'm not all against it, but I am saying that there is this very much an inward shifting of me, you know? And so I think maybe if these companies wanted to actually do something good, I can hope that at some point in time they might see the error in their ways. You know, there could be this thing that, you know, these platforms are reoriented towards sharing experiences and growing experiences, because the algorithms could be introducing you to people that you don't know, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
Right? Because right now we're just getting fed people like us, you know, that believe things like us. It's not always.
I don't think you're not growing, right?
You're not. That's it. There's no growth.
There's no growth. Yeah. You get stuck in your ways, and they're relating you to people who are like relating to your way. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
If we're all forced into a box, and we're forced into that same box every day, how can you see that the world is this wide and beautiful place? You know, and I think that's the thing, is like, these platforms could be doing real good in the world and actually connecting and uniting people. But that's where it's up to us to do things like this podcast and get out the message that we are all the same. Not all the same, but we have the same things that drive us, that motivate us.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So I love that, man. Now, what are some things that you're working on right now? Do you have any projects? You have the new fashion line. Do you have any new videos or a new music on the way?
So yeah, we're still doing music for that project. Because the brand is called Ethos 33, so it's just not. It's a merger of all those things. So it's fashion, music, and film into one. Awesome. Yeah, so all into one thing. So it's more music coming. We're actually gonna start doing like a fashion short film for the new release that we just did. Yep. And what did I just say? I dismissed the film. Yeah, so that's kind of like what's on at the table like right now at the moment. Getting more music out, keep that going, and then more visuals are coming. And this trying to get that going. And then you know how it is in fashion. It's like it's almost time to start working on spring. You know,
Yeah,
like
right,
it goes like that. But it's like whoa, like, yeah, you can't like slow down. You got to keep going. Yeah,
fashion's quick, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's like what's in the clip right now, is getting some more music out for this, because we're trying to like link like together, like, and make it like a soundtrack that like goes along with the collection, you know, so it all has a feel together, you know. It creates like a mood for the clothing and for the visuals. Everything ties in.
I love that now, man, that people can be multifaceted creators, and like you can tie. That's what my friend was like, you should focus in on acting or directing or music or your podcast. Pick something. You shouldn't do everything. And I was like, why? I can grow my podcast and then I'm interviewing all these people that are musically oriented, and then I can do my music, and then you know, my music can feed films, and like it can be.
I think the technology, that's where the technology is cool now. It does kind of help you to, if you're creative and you get your hands on it, you don't need a full film crew. Like back in the day, like nobody shot music videos because you really needed a budget. Like you needed like tens of thousands of dollars. It would be considered like a low budget, you know, video.
And you look at them, and some of them were horrible. I was watching like an old Michael Jackson video the other day, and it was just like, I was looking at it, I was like, man, this is like one of the worst things I've ever seen shot. And I mean, and Michael had some really nice music videos, you know, but this was super rough. I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't Beat It, but it was one of his major songs. I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
But it probably cost him a fortune.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I don't think you have to like just say, oh, you have to focus on this and this. The technology kind of has helped us to get our hands on decent to good equipment at, you know,
for $1,000 you can buy
you can really get busy. If you're creative, you can get busy. You can get busy with your iPhone. You know, so it's like, it's like kind of like it's whatever you want to do right now. That's like the cool thing about it. Like whatever you want to do, you can kind of like dip and dabble into it, dip into it.
But you have to be willing to put in the work.
You got to put in the work, though. Absolutely. Yeah.
Keep grinding, man.
Keep grinding.
But I had a good conversation tonight, my friend. No, I would love to invite you back on sometime. Anytime you guys have something cool that you'd like to talk about, you're always welcome to come on.
Absolutely, will do.